Hello, everyone. Week 8 is in the books, and it's time to cover Korea. So let's do that. Let's cover Korea here with dGon and Wolf as we break down a relatively uneventful week here, Wolf. We had one top 4 matchup against each other. It was KT versus Gen.G. I think I was the only KT predator, and I was wrong. I don't think it was all that close. Actually, all of my underdog predictions didn't quite work out as the Bros lost to DPlus. BNK Forex didn't upset DPlus, and the Bros, although came
Lost to T1.
tantalizingly close to beating T1 in Game 2, did not do that as well. It was a bad week. It was a bad week for me, man.
It's tough. I mean, sometimes you take a risk. I think your Preds weren't actually unrealistic, but they were reaching, I think, in some senses. Obviously, we know that now. It's hard for me to tell you like I told you so when I picked the safe thing, and like the result is already there. I'm super disappointed. I want to talk about Hanjin Brian because I'm super disappointed with the downturn of this team and the return to bad habits. It seems like it had, and I don't know what happened in terms of coaching for that, but it just seemed like at some point, Bro became old Bro, where they were just making the wrong calls on objectives and fights, and sometimes even just frankly like pushing to get map control, and getting punished and not doing their due diligence. It wasn't the same exact problem of Bro in the early rounds where they just didn't know how to be decisive on objectives. They were making calls, but they were doing them sloppily. They were making calls too aggressively at times. But it felt like the symptoms were the same in that the team was panicking and kind of in the past, like they were kind of frozen like a deer in the headlights. And then now they're like, okay, panic, we must just charge ahead. And it
Yeah.
became the same type of communication issue, but the response was different, but the end result was the same, and that they blew their leads, right? Like they kept blowing their leads. And that's like, for me, a problem I thought was solved, and that's why I got excited for Bro. That's why I was, memeing about like Bro is going to Worlds, not mathematically eliminated, all that stuff, because I was like, I think they've done it. Like I think they're actually good now. And it's that game you mentioned briefly about the T1 loss. That game almost like brought me back in again for a second. I was like, oh my god, wait a second, like holy hell, like Bro actually is back. Maybe I was right the whole time. No.
No, it was they're not. I mean, we'll get to the D plus series, which happened earlier, but the T1 series is more recent in my head, and the game 1 was a Bro and Brew where, my God, they just got punished by a bot lane that slammed him in the face. It was Kate Lux of KIA and Pays. I don't even remember what they were playing, and they just got punished, right? I think it was Jin Pike. It was Jin Pike. And Pike got hooked got snared multiple times, blue flash first time, died the second time, and then tried to go back in, died yet again. And then the bot lane just got stalled out. He tried to roam around. Then Teddy died by himself. Like it was a bot gap there, and the team stabilized to stay close, but then they just didn't have the tools to get anything going. Right? When you pick the Pike, you want the Pike to be dictating the action around the map, but when you fall so far behind that your bot lane will become irrelevant and the jungler can't come and help, you're then kind of stuck babysitting, and you don't want to do that on the Pike. But in game 2, this was the one that was saddest. It was Lucian Milio. The Bros had Lucian Milio. They get an early lead. They're playing well. Teddy's dying a lot, but the team is getting a lot for it. I think they were like 5K up. They lose one fight, and now all of a sudden, in the final fight that ended the game, and it ended very abruptly for T1, it was like a flanking Milio. And I think the habit was, overall as a team, a lot of the time, Namgung is one of the playmakers, which is why we were like, ooh, Namgung doesn't look good, because he looks extra bad, because when he tries to make a play and it doesn't work, it was ass. And then that's why when they were looking good, everyone's like, holy shit, Namgung, he's the guy. We think he's it, because he's playmaking. When he was playing Emilio, that's not his job. And I think in the last 2 fights, he was trying to flank. He was trying to flank on Emilio to start the fight with the fire kick, and then I don't know. I just punched my mic. I don't even know why he was flanking like that. And I think that's the old Bro of like, oh shit, we're panicking. We got to find something to do. We got to make a play. It's like, no, you're ahead. Remember how your team functions. Like in this specific composition, you're not the setup guy. You're not the playmaker. You are cleanse. He did that a couple times there for Teddy. That was awesome, right? He used the Mikhails into the Milio cleanse, and Teddy's able to get away. That's your job. You have to wait for Gideon to be the one to set it up. And unfortunately, they did not do that. The game immediately ends. We get robbed of a game 3, and their hopes of making it into the Legend group go away. The chance of them making it into Road to MSI are now almost back to 50-50 rather than, being solid. And that's the disappointing thing that you're talking about, right? It felt like they were able to, in the, right before the stressful moments, reorganize what they're supposed to do, generally on macro calls, figure out how the fight's supposed to play out, and then execute upon it, which they've always been able to do. But now they're panicking and they're executing the incorrect game plan, and they look stupid.
Yeah. I liked, how casting played the Jace, for example, in that second game. I was really impressed with it. And just overall, the nature of how Bro played this week it felt like, how do I put this? It felt like some parts were working, but not all the parts were working in any particular moment. Not even like from game to game. It's like, okay, now we've got the Lucian that's having the problem, but the rest of the top side is playing well, and we're going to try to figure this out. We're going to try to get out of the hole. In the DPlus series, Teddy had the pop-off Ezreal game where everyone was inting, and he was like, no, I'm going to win. And he just was playing so incredibly well. Meanwhile, Romer was just having a horrible, horrible game. And then Teddy gets caught one time and the game is over. And we're like, okay, well, that's just how it is. If everyone else is not performing and he has to get it done, he could step up and get it done. But eventually, there are limits to what you can do. And the rest of the games in that series were very messy, and DPlus didn't look amazing either, but Bro just looked out of sorts. And as soon as they lost to DPlus, we all knew the chances of going to Legend Group were incredibly small, but still possible, right? And their almost win against T1 makes you feel like, yeah, it was possible, right? But with the gameplay I saw in that DPlus series made me feel like, nah, it's done. I'm off the hype train. I told you guys after the show, I was like, I'm off the Bro hype train. I'm ready to let it rest, because I think it is definitely donezo. And maybe did we get caught up in an easy schedule? Is that actually what happened? I don't think so. I think that they played really good League of Legends.
Yeah,
I think they really did.
I
think that they played good macro. They were super ahead.
Exactly.
They knew exactly what to play. They looked like a top team in the eye test to me. I was like, they're a top team. Legitimately, this is not just some lucky schedule fluke run. To me, I really believed. And then I saw this and I was like, nah, they lost it. I don't know what happened, but they don't have it anymore.
Yeah, that was the frustrating part, right? Because the decisions, the positions that they were put in, even against the weaker teams, were still ones that needed to be solved in ways that better teams would, right? And I think the frustrating part is with the T1 situations that they were put in, I think the hands and the fighting were obviously better of T1, but I don't think the situations were that difficult. They were harder when they were behind, but when they were ahead, it was self-inflicted panic. And I think that's why we were excited for the Bros, because it wasn't self-inflicted panic in those wins that they had. They just very much stuck to their plan and looked like the ones that had the solutions. Whereas against T1, they were ahead and they were playing like they were behind and then trying to force fights that we know isn't the right way to do it. And if it came off and they won the fight, we would still say, man, they have all that CC. You have Emilio that's there to cleanse all the CC. Yes, they won the fight, but holy shit, if any one of those CCs land on the Lucian's going to die. But we don't even get to that point because the CC does land on Lucian. Emilio's not there to cleanse it, and he did die, and the game ended. So I think that's why I feel pretty confident in this one. I'm trying to think of a team. Was there a team like last year where we got swept up and oh, maybe they could do it? I think
every year.
Yeah, maybe D+. Maybe D+ this year too, right? As the 5th seed. Because the parts were there, but I think we were like, oh, maybe if Beryl just gets his shit together and, locks in one last ride, maybe that, but I don't think we ever really believed in that. I think I still believe that we've seen the Bros solve it against the best teams, and tough situations. I think they still can do it, but they have to get out of their own way when the nameplate is on. That's what I feel like for this squad.
I think that they are a team that's kind of conditioned to, at least so far this season, to play well when they feel like there's nothing to lose. Like when the stakes are low, when the expectations are low, they do really well. And when the expectations are high, that's when they struggle. Excuse me. And I kind of feel like as a result, they might do incredibly well in the Rise group. Like they might actually be, who knows? Like maybe they'll drop like 3 games for the rest of the year. And then everyone's like, oh, bro's back, but they're there, but they're playing in their own way. They're not testing themselves against top teams the way they did pre-Rise Legends split. So the most depressing thing to me is I think they won't. This is a team that like needs to be 5th in Legend, not first in Rise. Like this is the team that needs to like iterate and grow and be limit tested, I think, and to have those tough matches all the time and to have those stakes tested. Because just being the top of the Rise group, or maybe even like they won't be the top, but they're likely to be the top, feels like I can't get excited for them when we go back to like the rest of the season. We go to playoffs and they're playing through playoffs and maybe they make that miracle run. How can anyone expect them to do it? It's not like, I know you're probably thinking, but Wolf, you said like when the expectations are low, like that's when they do well. I just think that the mechanics and the gameplay that isn't there when the expectations are low because they've atrophied in Rise group will hurt them when we get to those moments. Like I think it's a combination of all those things, right? So I wanted to see Bro at Worlds. I wanted to tease the idea that this team could actually go. I wanted to think about those possibilities, which were, they were there. Like I felt like this team was not that different from like KT last year, right? Like KT went to the World Finals. I thought there was some magic here, and now I'm kind of like, damn, we were so close. And it feels hopeless to me now. Like I could be wrong, and I hope I am, but it feels like that's it. Like this week we were like, oh, the dream is dead. It's over. It's Brover, dGon, it's Brover.
Here's the Cope angle. Here's the Cope angle. The Cope angle is last year, Nongshim were the bottom of the Rise, right? Bottom of the Legend. This is the old bottom of the Legend, top of Rise conversation. We hammered it home way too much. We are not going to do that this year. I learned my lesson. I will steer both this show and LCK official broadcast away from that conversation because we learned that Nongshim was just getting their ass blasted every week. And then they show up for the play-ins and they beat the bros and then lose to DPlus and BNK Furex to make playoffs proper. Like, I think the confidence gets shattered. I think also, against my argument, this Hanjin Brion squad needed to play against the better opposition because they know they're not as good, but their potential is as high. I think both DPlus and Nongshim were both squads. This year's DPlus and last year's Nongshim were both squads that look at the roster and are like, we should be in the Legend group. We're a Legend group team. Like, we're going to compete. No. I think that was the wrong mindset. And I think Nongshim, like, blew their confidence to the ground because their expectations were wrong. With Hanjin, it's like, we need to be solving more complex puzzles, some more complex situations. This is going to benefit us. But now we're going to solve all these easy puzzles. This doesn't prepare us for the complex puzzles, the complex macro situations, the split pushing Yorick, who's now like 2 kills ahead and we can't solve it, but our bot lane's ahead. How do we solve this issue? Like, I don't know if like that's going to come up as consistently against Rise group teams that will help them make it to Worlds. So
I agree.
Enjoy Worlds, Hanwha, Gen.G, T1, and KT.
I mean, think about it this way. Like, I just imagine a lot of the bro games, and I know it's sad, but like it does feel like that's where we're headed. Most of the teams that bro play against in Rise, like they'll just blast them. Like Gideon will just blast them. Like Gideon is easily the best jungler in the group, in my opinion, and he'll just come across and Romer, by the way, is like still new and like frankly, it kind of almost feels like I don't even want to call him a rookie. I just want to call him like a noob. Like he's like a noob, but he's got the skills. Like he's the mistakes that Romer makes are like when you see it happen, you're like, oh,
that was boneheaded.
God.
They're boneheaded mistakes.
Yeah, but when you watch it happen, you're like, it's like watching a child. You're like, okay, well, you didn't know. It's okay. Like, you won't make that mistake again. That's what it feels like
Yeah.
to me with Romer. Like, I feel like Romer has clear talent. Like, he's obviously incredibly skilled, but a lot of his decisions come down to like, I thought I could flash this wall here and turn this play, but it's like obviously not. You definitely overextended there, or like I think I need to get this wave, and like then he knows the jungler might be there, and then he dies, and it's like that's a solo queue thing where you're like, I think I don't trust my teammates. I need to get this wave because I need to carry, so I need to be fed, and like I'll just flame the jungler if like for not coming if I die to the jungler. You know what I mean? Like it feels like some of the mistakes he's making are so solo queue filled, but now he's just spent so much time with the team. I think he's gonna get better. But I think they will just like mid jungle won't be a problem. Romer won't get punished by like UCal. He's not gonna have a hard time against closers might have a good game and here or there, but it's not gonna like collapse this team.
Yeah.
And they'll just stay like flatline good, but then they'll play against an legend team, any of them, in the playoffs, and we'll be like, oh, okay, like the gap is still there. Or maybe they get like one game where we're like, oh, but like I just don't think the depth was there, especially if we get to best of fives and Bro has to really, 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 really showcase like deeper knowledge and champion pool and advanced strats that the legend group team has been rolling and rolling and rolling all the way there until we get to playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm. If somehow, here's like the rare opportunity. If somehow, maybe because their scrims will be against legend group teams. Like I actually don't have insight on how Korean scrims work. And last year, when they got divided into Legend and Rise group, if they did scrim against Legend group teams, if like DPlus got Legend group scrims, or if you just scrim the team that you're not playing that week because you don't play all 4 Legend group teams that same week, so you just alternate. Or if you're unfortunately kind of like relegated to playing against academy teams or LCP teams.
A lot of the time you do end up playing against like similar strength teams from other regions, including the LPL. From what I hear, right? If you're at the bottom, I think the best scrims you're going to get are related to like 2 things, like availability. Like if you're very available and a team really needs to scrim, they will get an LCK team because of ping and stuff like that a lot of the time. And the other thing is like your perceived strength. Obviously, even if you're a Rise group team, if your perceived strength is high, then teams want to scrim you. So I think Bro will get scrims with legend teams for sure.
The idea would be, okay, we are getting the more complex situations in our scrims, and now we're the ones that can figure out how to put teams to that. Be the proactive team, not just making plays, but setting up the strategy for that game and for that draft. And that would be awesome. And that would be kind of crazy because they're not showing it against the top teams. But that is such a DRX-esque long shot type thing. And it's so hopeful and full of bropium. And I think next week, if I don't predict the Bros, I will get destroyed. But also, like, what am I supposed to do? Gen.G and Hanwha are who they're playing. Look who they showed. Like, look what they showed. Like, Teddy can't do more in the DPlus game. And when he falls apart, in this case, no one was there to step up. Whether it was casting, whether it was Romer, whether it was Gideon, they weren't able to. Casting in game 2, sure. But then that was a macro issue, right? They were up 5K, and then flanking Namgung seemed to be a good idea, which it wasn't. So I don't know. We'll see. The Bros, a little disappointing. One thing from that loss, though, Wolf, I want to touch on before we move on is it did lock in our Legend and Rise group standings. It does kind of end up the way that we thought it was. There's a lot more mobility between 7th, 8th, and 9th, and 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So that's Gen.G, KT, and T1, and then Kiwoom, BNK, and Nongshim. There is a world where Kiwoom and BNK can pass Bro, but they play against each other next week, which is very exciting. But generally, because of the game score, it's probably Kiwoom that has the best opportunity to pass the Bros. The Bros will more than likely lose their Gen.G and Hanwha matches and be at 6-12 with a negative 8 game score. Kiwoom and BNK play against each other. If whichever one wins, then they have to win the next game. BNK against T1, Kiwoom against DPlus. And if they do that, then they are 7 and what 7
7-11.
Yeah, 7-11. Boom. Always open. And that's how they'll slide into that road to MSI spot here.
Yeah, that's the way. At this point, I don't think that will happen for either of them. Just it seems incredibly unlikely for them to both beat top teams. B&K have a lot of issues that it's weird because B&K had the really fiery start with Taeyun and then it just fizzled out and it just feels like they have a lot of problems on their top side from Vikla to clear, and it's not like unsolvable. It's not doomed, right? I'm not a doomer about this. I just don't think I think there's some learning and some growth that could happen. Like we can have a conversation about Worlds like in a few months, but I just don't care like who gets the final spot. Like Bro is the most deserving of it right now, and if the other teams get the crazy upset, I'm like, well, that's a fluke, and they won't do anything with it probably. Like B&K did so much earlier this year, right, with Diablo, and they were able to make it to LCK Cup Finals, and that was just really good play from them, right? They played really well. They hit it in the moment. I don't think that's going to happen again. So I'd rather see Bro have a weird, maybe potential chance to like somehow pop off and randomly go to MSI. That would be cool. But I think I want to see Bro play a best of 5 more than I want to see QMDRX or B&K play a best of 5. I just don't think they have the depth for it. And so I'm not even like that interested in entertaining the possibility of QM and B&K.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Me neither. I'll take my L's this week and just save the Bropium for a surprise upset win over DPlus in the road to MSI. Man, how sick would that be? That'd be so sick. Road to MSI, by the way, is back to the old gauntlet format because we don't have the gauntlet in our playoffs. So this is kind of like where we get a gauntlet. So the 6th seed plays the 5th seed. The winner of that plays the 4th seed. The winner of that plays the 3rd seed. And I believe the 3rd seed. Is it the 3rd seed? Yeah, the 3rd seed match, the 1st versus 2nd seed match, and then the winner versus the loser match. All 3 of them are there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird because the number 1 and number 2 play like early and not in like the finals match. So it gets like a little bit weird. It's a qualifier,
but it's
so like
what I meant was all there are 4 teams that go to the road show. 4 teams that go to the road MSI, which I think is so cool. Like, yes, people always gripe on like we don't have a winner, but it's awesome. It was awesome last year going to Busan. And just having that many LCK fans outside of Seoul travel, fill up the arena. Dude, it was filled. It was like so cool. I'm very excited to go to Wonju, experience a new area here of Korea, not on my own dime, and do it with Korean fans that, like make it feel like it's, familiar and home. So,
yeah, it'll be fun. I am looking forward to it. And hopefully we'll get some upsets along the way. I mean, last year, KT came in with a lot of hype with Perfect, having a great time before.
I just laughed because this is the Wolf.
Bro, but it's maybe Bro like make it to top 4 and they get to go to the road show and we're like, oh, are they back? And then they disappoint us again. But like that would be fun. I'm down to be heartbroken again. Yeah, give it to me.
Nice. That was a good one. I only laughed because Wolf was like, they did the teaser of Perfect? Like Perfect's the guy? And then he gets blasted, and Wolf never lets that one go. He's like, you made it a Perfect, and then he got absolutely shit on.
Well, it's funny because, like, if you guys were around last year, to tell an old 2025 story, if you guys were around last year, I talked about this on the show a lot. And how many times I said, like, Perfect can play 2 champions, and one of them is Udyr, so I don't need to go further into it. And, like, I was super low on Perfect last year. Like, incredibly. Then he had a few good games, and they made him the focus player. When KT last year, especially at that point, was a 2-man team.
Cousin BDD, bro.
Yeah, that was literally it. So there was just like no point even in entertaining the thought of anyone else. And for some reason, LCK was like, we're going to get Perfect and do the thing. And in his content, he was like, I fixed all my issues. I figured it out.
See, Wolf remembers exactly the quote.
He was basically just like, I've got my confidence now. I've sorted out my issues. I'm ready to go and win MSI. They ended in like a confident line. And I was watching it kind of like, okay, I don't know about this. Like, where's BDD? Where's Cuz? Like, this team is not about perfect. He is easily their worst player. Even though he had a few pop-off games right before that. Like, he did have a few pop-off games right before that. I'm thinking of, like, this one Jace game where he just exploded and popped off and got, like, a triple kill and saved the game and an upset win against, like, T1.
Yeah.
But at Road
No.
to MSI,
Yeah.
he did not play well at all. And I was very disappointed and sad.
Yeah. We have our ceremonies here at the LCK. You remember those pop-off games on the beginning of the road to MSI? That's where we got the perfect cut off your neck. You remember that? Now he does the salute, his little salute thing with this smirk. But more importantly, at the road to MSI, it wasn't the cut off your neck. It was Doran cementing his place on T1 with T1 fans by absolutely shitting on Perfect with the brush off the shoulder. It was so disrespectful. It was so fucked up. And it was just even worse because it was Perfect. And LCK did this. LCK did this. They made Perfect the guy so that Doran could shit on him. It was like, oh no, man. Oh no. It was so messed up. All right. We'll see what happens here this week. I hope it's, you know what? If the bros end up becoming the prop to get shit on by T1, I'm okay with that. That's not gonna leave me broken hearted. I'll be secretly proud. That's my casting. All right, before we dive into the top 4 and who is the strongest in the LCK as we get closer to the road to MSI, it's time to remind you about our friends over at Prize Picks. The NBA regular season is wrapped up and the NBA playoffs are finally here. And there's no better way to cash in on the high-flying hoops action than Prize Picks, a preferred partner of the NBA. Every bucket, every dime, and every win means more when you're playing on Prize Picks. So don't pass up your next shot with Prize Picks and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Pick live squares during the NBA playoffs and you can win a trip for 2 to the NBA finals. Just enter to enter, you just make a $5 lineup with at least one NBA player pick during any part of the 2026 NBA playoffs. Live player picks are made after a game is already in progress. Obviously, you've heard me talk about my Prize Picks experience. It's just easy by simply hopping in during the football season. That's how I got in. And then you pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you can cash in. And you can pick from all your favorite sports, anything from the NBA, baseball, hockey, UFC, soccer, college basketball, tennis, golf, esports, and more. So make sure to download the Prize Pick app today and use code LCK to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LCK to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, a preferred partner of the NBA. All right. We've got the big 4. It's familiar. The same. Just in case you might not know, it's still Gen.G, T1, KT, and Hanwha. Hanwha solidifying their place on top now with a nice and comfortable 2-game cushion or 2-series cushion over Gen.G, T1, and KT. All 3 of those teams at 12-4, and all 4 of them will do battle against each other next week. Gen.G play Hanwha to kick off the week, and then on Thursday it's a Telecom War, KT versus T1. So Wolf, I think now's the time, since we've solidified Legend and Rise and DPlus are there, but not as relevant. How do we feel strength of, I guess, like off paper, but by the eye test, the ranking of these squads? Like, is it Hanwha, Gen.G, T1, and KT as it currently stands?
I don't think so. I think the only one I feel like really is where they belong is KT. I think KT is the worst of our top 4, but still a very strong team. Like, a definitely elite team here in the LCK that could beat anyone on their best day, right? I think they're very, very good. I do think that, BDD's had a few off days for some reason, and it's hard to explain why. They're very bizarre, but Cuz has also looked a little bit misguided in some of his early games. Like, he's just sending it. Like, he's very confident, but his reads are often incorrect in some of these situations. He's often also, frankly, like, unlucky in some of the games, but I just think that KT don't really have the consistency that the other three teams have. They have the flexibility. They have a roster that can play a lot of different styles. In fact, I'd say like they're probably the team that I think when I see a bad draft, when you see a bad draft in a game of League of Legends and you're like, oh, this has to go exactly one way or they're going to lose. I feel like KT is the team where I feel that the least. Like, I feel like they can make almost anything work because they play well together and they know how to find the win con in the game. But I just don't think that their players are strong enough to beat the top three. And the other top three have a more clean early game. Their macro is better. They have the ability to just eliminate people from the game. Like Kanavi does this every game where he's just like, the enemy bot laner doesn't exist. Actually, he's gone. It doesn't matter. KT don't play that way, although sometimes they try to. I think that there's almost like a triangle between Gen.G, T1, and HLE right now, stylistically. Like you have T1, who is playing through Faker's roams again, and the strong bottom lane. KIA pays bottom 2v2, looking really good. Faker's roaming. They're sending attention down there. They're getting themselves ahead. It's very different than how HLE play, though, because they do it through dives. They do it through like hyper aggression, whereas T1 kind of gradually build up those advantages and have explosive team fights later on through a global mid if they can get their hands on it for Faker, like the Twisted Fate. Hanwha Life Esports, a lot more hyper aggressive, right? Not measured aggression. A lot of aggression through Kanavi. He takes every fight he can get. He is constantly pushing the enemy jungler out. Zeus is often playing weak side these days, which is totally fine because they've really figured out they want to play through bottom lane, play through Guma. Guma's messed up some of his early games in the 2v2, but Kanavi has been so good that he's been able to bail them out of these games. And he'll often just pivot and be like, all right, Guma, you borked it. We're doing something else now. We're going somewhere else. And he'll figure it out. And then Zeus can carry, or Zeka can carry. Zeka is so incredibly good, right? And I would say he's challenging for the best mid laner in the LCK right now. Zeka is. Like, I think Chovy is very good, but Zeka has been so good and so consistent right now. So that's where Hanwha is. And then Gen.G is kind of like they feel like style agnostic. Like they have so many different ways they play. Like when you look at Ruler's champion pool, you're like, I guess I'd trust him to play anything and he'll scale up and do fine. Chovy, obviously massive champion pool, can be really clutch on a lot of picks. Keen, incredibly robust, right? Best Scion in the league right now, but plays a lot of weak side because that's the meta. That's what calls of him. But we know he can play more aggressively. And Canyon, I'm a little worried about Canyon. We're always a little bit worried about Canyon.
Yeah.
But like, it feels like the other two teams need a player. Like for example, HLE needs Kanavi to function. Like they function around Kanavi. They play through Kanavi. Guma has a bad game. Kanavi bails him out. Zeus has a bad game. Kanavi bails it out. It's fine. Like that happens from time to time. Like Zeus had a few stinkers. Guma's had a few stinkers. Zeka, oddly, in the past used to have a lot, but actually these days, like he's pretty solid, pretty stable. T1 needs like Faker, right? They need KIA. I think they need two players, right? They need Faker and his roaming and his ability to warp side lanes, and they need KIA's clutch factor, his engages, right? For Gen.G, I'm like, you can play through Keen, he can carry. Or you can play through Ruler this game, or otherwise it could be Chovy just being incredibly consistent. And Canyon can also have a pop-off game, by the way, but they don't need Canyon to play through. Like, if Canyon's having a bad day, it's like, well, we'll get it done without him. Like, Canyon often will just farm, as we know. This is a Canyon thing. Like, he's, like, not even necessarily playing through any lane. He's playing through the opportunities he finds, and he's looking for objectives, and he's looking for big team fight wins. So they're all very stylistically different. And my money is on Gen.G's style agnostic type of playstyle to eventually probably win out. Like I was kind of on the T1 hype train, but their drafts have looked too similar in their last few games for me, where it's like, okay, Paze is popping off, Paze is getting a pentakill, Paze, we're playing through Paze, we're getting Paze ahead, he's going to pop off later, that I don't feel as confident in their ability to play through the next, I'm talking like MSI and beyond, like through MSI best of fives and post Legend Rise split, rounds 3 and 4, and necessarily be at the same place. Now they may adapt. Well, I'm just talking about like right now. They may adapt. We may see their play style change. They're playing through what the meta is right now incredibly well. It's a great champion pool for owner. But it feels like Gen.G have the most flexibility because they're not as reliant on a certain style or a certain player. Like when you look at a Kanavi draft, you're like, he takes the Jarvan here. Guma's gonna play X, Y, or Z because they got the Jarvan draft. He's gonna play Misfortune. They ban the other ones away. He's gonna play MF. He's gonna pop off. They're gonna do this. Like we already know, right? And the same thing with T1. It's like, let's Twisted Fate open. Faker's gonna take that. He's gonna Realm Warp bottom. But Gen.G, you're like, I don't know what they're doing this draft yet. Let's wait and see.
Yeah, I think that draft creativity was actually what spurred the bluffing substitution. Remember, bluffing came in and we got clarification that this substitution was a reward for hitting rank 1 in Korean solo queue. Home came out and said that. He said Delight also has taken this substitution positively and would benefit him from watching. And Delight got subbed back in later on this week when they dropped the first game to shoot, to Nongshim, and then Delight came in and saved the series. Which, like Huni was saying on the yesterday, he was like, I don't think they should have subbed out bluffing. I feel bad for bluffing. It's like, I don't. Like you had multiple different series to play, and he looked good in it. That specific draft though that they lost with Nongshim, they gave bluffing Bard, and it made it that this Hanwha Life roster was putting the ball not in Kanavi's hands to be, start the fights, but in bluffing and try to get more of a engaged, like, can the team function when our support is the one starting the fight? Because it feels like Delight has been a superb sidekick to Kanavi. And the only time where Delight is like, okay, I'm taking over the game, has been his Pyke. And he's played it twice now. That was actually what he played when he came in, being subbed in. And I think it's because what you just said, Gen.G does a really good job of disguising their draft and disguising what ultimately they're going to do. And then once that final pick gets locked in, then you're like, oh, I kind of see it now. Whereas, as you said, T1 and Hanwha are like, here's who we are. Try to stop us. And I think with T1, because of Faker and because of that core group of guys being there, they can start hiding things later on that, it's like, oh, well, yeah, I played this like 3 years ago it was the meta. I can pull it out here and surprise. Everyone's going to be like, oh, I'm a genius. Also, Keria. He was playing like Jax support, Aurelia support. I think he was playing top laners at support in his solo queue account. So I think Hanwha now, thinking for the future, realizing they've got a 2-game lead, that they're locked into the spot anyways, they're more than likely going to be in a 1-game series to decide if they go to MSI. If they lose that, they'll have another one in the pocket. I think they are trying to think about how can we also disguise our drafts by not having Kanavi be the only way that we win, by having a setup man from the support role, which we already have in our starter, and let our starter sit back as a sub and watch and see, okay, yes, bluffing missed these bindings here. He missed this cosmic binding. Eventually, Nongshim get to a point where they scale and we lose. But if you're in our better player, this is where you can impact the game as well. A lot of the time, you'll be a supportive guy to Kanavi, but you can be that wrinkle that will get us over the line here, where maybe Kanavi is playing, maybe not Jarvan, but more of a carry-centric jungle. Maybe it's a double AP and it's got to be Lilia. Then, other than getting a multi-man lilting lullaby, how else can we start the fight? It's Delight the one that's going to do it. So anyways, just a little bit of theory crafting here. I just was inspired by your setup of these squads. And ultimately, you're right, KT is in the 4th spot. I put faith in them this game, this week, and their inconsistent games just are too damaging. So if Effort has a bad game, they fall apart.
I really like the way that you contextualize the bluffing sub, though, because if what you say is kind of true, like, and there's a little bit of testing going on, like this draft, I pulled it up because I remembered when I was casting it that it made me really mad. This draft from Hanwha Life Esports, that was Yorick, Xin Zhao, Akali, Jin, Bard. You remind me of it because you mentioned the Bard game. And I remember it being like, yeah, no one should have a real comp with the Annie Wukong, and you guys have 5 champions that you like a lot, but they're not a comp. And like, that's the kind of thing I feel like that never happens to like Gen.G with their drafting, because they like the archetype is often decided in the final pick or the final two picks. They're like, and now our draft is this draft. But you couldn't know that before you go to the second phase. It's hard to ban against them. Like, what's Chovy gonna play? Champion pool's too big. Keen's champion pool's too big. And you're looking at often, like when it ends up being Ruler and Duro who's are the final picks. Sometimes it can be a little bit more transparent, but generally speaking, they've got all these flex picks that are theoretically this could be it. This could be it. Like Canyon being the big Skarner guy as well. Also, somebody throws a curveball where they try to ban him out and then he just plays Skarner and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot he also is just like really good at Skarner. We didn't know what their comp was gonna do. Now it's a Skarner dive comp or Skarner Wombo combo setup comp. That's the kind of thing that I really like about Gen.G right now, because they have the skill to back up holding these picks, and they have the champion pools to back up holding these picks. Whereas I'm not saying that Hanwha doesn't, and like I know we've talked about Guma's champion pool, we know he could play more than like what he's showing, and we've talked about this a lot. But it just feels like they haven't been unlocked to do that very often, because they're like, we're really good at this, and this is the best way to play the meta, which is accurate right now. Like the way they are playing feels like the best way to play the meta. But what happens when like the best way to play the meta is like Zeka needs to play Anivia every series instead? You know, that's when we start to ask, what if Zeka has to play Victor? That's not good. He's not good at that pick. Like he doesn't like that pick, you know. And then what happens when the draft identity has to change? But I kind of wonder what Hanwha's transition will look like, because I don't think it's impossible. Like I said, I think they absolutely can play different styles, but they haven't shown us that that's something that they're heavily leaning into right now. Whereas for Gen.G, you're like, well, I don't know what they're practicing even, because they also can play very boring standard drafts. Often that's what their drafts end up looking like. You know, the Chovy Azir, Keen Renekton, and you're like, okay, yeah, it's gonna be one of these games. But right now, I think a lot of people are kind of blindly assuming that Hanwha Life are the best team, like no matter what, because they've been in first place for so long. Since they dethroned KT, they have only lost that one major game, right? And so like I think, let me look at the standings again. The gap is two wins, right, between Gen.G and T1. But I think the way that Hanwha have won so many of their games and the streak that they had, the plus 20 game score, and like Kanavi being a psychopath and having these incredible individual plays that you're watching, I think a lot of people are just like saying that second place, and I was saying this for a little while, like second place is the most interesting part. Like which one of these three teams will get second? And now I'm kind of like, will Hanwha actually be first seed for MSI? Like, will they actually win those best of fives? Will they actually be number one? And I kind of lean towards, I don't think so. I think it's going to be Gen.G or T1. And right now, I kind of feel like it's going to be Gen.G. That's my personal read on this. I know I talked about it in other episodes. Like, hey, Gen.G and T1 are actually pretty legit good. Like, don't write them off. But I do think there's a world where Hanwha have a big fall and there's a transition period. I don't think they're going to fall to like 10th place like they were in LCK Cup, you know, but I think there will be a transition period, and that will show, I think, a lot more about them than what we know. Because I don't want to assume it'll be rough. Like I want to say like, oh, but they only played this style, so it'll be rough. But they might just instantly be able to transition. But there will be a transition period, and I'm very curious about what that looks like and when it's going to come. Is it going to be during MSI? Is it going to be post MSI? Is it going to be like in the run up to Worlds? We don't know.
I think it'll be at MSI. Like I have Hanwha and T1 going. Those were the teams that I believe in to make it. I think kind of like how the Bros were condemned to not make it to Legend Group because of what happened in round one. I think because Hanwha just caught fire and won so many games early on in the first round that I think they're just a little bit too far to catch. And with that core group of guys there from last Road to MSI, where they just absolutely shit the bed against both Gen.G and T1 and then ended up third at Road to MSI and miss out on one of the tickets. I think that's what this bluffing substitution is for. Like, I think Ohm has come in and been like, okay, we have a great team now. We figured out how we want to function, and we figured out our best punch, which is the Kanavi, like, bust through everyone strategy, is the best strategy in the league because it proves it in the results. So now we need to be more diverse for those best of fives once Jarvan, Pantheon, Xin Zhao are gone. Where do we go to next? Like, how do we play like in an Inferi comp, which still plays through the jungle, but he can't force it and get away with it as easily as you can with the durability of Jarvan, Xin Zhao, and the global presence of Pantheon. How else can we find a way forward? So that's why I've got them in there. And yeah, I feel like the transition period is from Gen.G now. Like, okay, you get your advantage from the draft, but how long can you cover up from a ruler oopsie? And yes, you've won 2 POMs in a row, but it's really going to be a great, fantastic Gen.G T1 banger series as my road to MSI final match on Sunday. Like, that's what I want. It's going to be awesome. And who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Gen.G beat Hanwha, and then Hanwha and T1 have to fight for the last spot, which is going to be
I think
also
there's a lot
crazy.
of epic storylines. It's going to be awesome, like no matter what. And I don't think, as an LCK representative, as an LCK caster, I would be unhappy with any of these 4 teams. If KT suddenly get it back and go, I'm happy with that. If Bro make the run, I'm not expecting things to go necessarily smoothly, but like it would be really exciting. You know what I mean? So
okay, I know. It's the only one is if DPlus make the run. If DPlus make the run, you're like, oh god,
that.
where's the
Absolutely,
choke
fuck
gonna
that.
go?
No way. I don't want that one. That's the only one I don't want. But like normally,
it's
like so many years when we have this MSI thing going on, and like often it's only 1 seed or it has been like 1 seed for MSI for a really long time. Now it's 2, but like often for MSI and Worlds, we're like, okay, better be T1 or Gen.G. We'll see which one it is. That's the best one, and we'll go, and it'll be fine. But like, there's been years in the past, especially when they opened up 4 seeds for LCK, we were like, don't send them, man. Don't let that guy go. But like, it feels like right now. And like you guys did this on, I think on the pre-show on Wednesday. Like, is the Wadu Wadon, like, is this the best LCK season of all time, like so far? And it kind of feels like it is. Like, it does feel like, even though we have like DNS at the bottom of the table, like there's been so many epic storylines. There's been so many form changes, like up and down. The Diablo Taeyun trade is like something you're gonna get like once in a lifetime. We've had KT be the best team and then lose it, but then like regain form a little bit. T1 and Gen.G really rocky starts for what we expect from them, but they've been able to figure it out and get back up there. Bro is good. KMDRX looked completely terrible, but turned it around. Look actually like somewhat formidable now. The only thing that's like uninteresting is DNS, sadly, and I'm just like, whatever. Like that's a win for free when you hit them in the round robin. But since everyone's beating them, it doesn't even ruin anything, right? It's okay. And it's almost like we just have a nine league round robin, or 9-team round robin. Yeah. But I think that everyone is so good right now that if you have a bad day, anyone can beat anyone except DNS. DNS can't beat anyone no matter what. But like, anyone else can beat anyone else if the other team has a bad day, if they play disrespectfully. Like Nongshim taking a game off of Hanwha recently is the most recent example of this. Like, if you just have a bad draft and the enemy team outdrafts you, they're still an LCK team. They're still good. They will actually take that game off. They will do it. And so I do also feel like even if Bro go, they won't disappoint us. If DPlus go, they'll probably disappoint us. But if Bro go, they will not dispoint us at MSI. So I'm looking forward to the whole thing. Next week, on the other hand, boring as hell and not going to be fun. There's a few interesting ideas, but like next week is just kind of like, all right, just get me to Wonju, please, as soon as possible.
Before we dive into those predictions, I just wanted to quickly touch on where I do think it would be interesting for DPlus, because I don't want them to go to MSI. We have 2 slots. I don't want them to go to MSI. You know where I do want them to go to, Wolf? Take a guess.
What's the tournament called? The thing they went last year? Is that what you're talking about?
No, actually, I'm not talking about the Asia Star game.
Yes,
Asia Star Invitational, ASI. No,
ASI,
actually, for them to find redemption and prove to us that they're worthy of our trust, have them go to EWC, man. Like, we have 4 seeds at EWC for Korea. Gen.G is already locked in. Currently, they are 1 win away from making it to EWC. It would be right now it's T1 or DPlus in the upper side of the bracket. The winner there makes it. Whoever loses will play the winner of Nongshim versus Hanwha. And then the first place winner of Road to MSI gets the slot. And if they don't already have it, then the second place winner of Road to MSI gets a slot. And if that's T1 or Hanwha, actually, I have no idea how it trickles all the way down. Or Gen.G. I don't know how it trickles down. It might not be KT. Like, honestly. Like, KT crashed out of EWC qualifiers. So I don't know if the tiebreaker goes to the next closest finisher in EWC qualifiers or if it goes to the next highest finisher in Road to MSI. Right? Like, I'm not sure, but DPlus is in the conversation for both of those. KT's not in the conversation if it's the EWC qualifier one. So if KT or if DPlus ends up making it into EWC and then does something there, I think then that's their path to redemption. Whereas KT already kind of earned it by leading the league with those like very impressive wins, with that very solid year that Aiming has put together in the bot lane to join the other big two with perfect in the counter picks. But now he's cooled off because people have solved. You just don't give him counter pick and force him onto boring stuff. And top laners can play marksman. So he's cooled off a little bit. But I think KT's kind of earned it. Like, how can DPlus earn it? It would be going to EWC, beating a couple LPL teams, maybe upsetting T1, Gen.G, Hanwha, and then losing out probably in the quarters or semis. I think in the semis, then I'm like, okay, cool. Like, DPlus, you can join the conversation. But otherwise, please don't take one of the MSI spots.
Yeah, I think it's a fun way of looking at it, and they have looked really good at the road to EWC qualifier. But it makes me wonder too sometimes when I watch them, like, are they just more comfortable playing from home? Like, is there something about that environment that these younger players have preferred? Hard to know, but I want to see LCK win both of these tournaments. Like, I want to see, obviously I'm happy to send anybody, blah blah blah, but like I want to see 2 trophies with our region's flag on them. And it, like, this could be the year of Korea again, right? Like, where it's like, okay, last year we had 2 Korean teams in the World's Finals, which hasn't happened in a really long time. Obviously, first stand was a bit of a disaster for the LCK, but that tournament not as prestigious as the rest of these, in my mind, right? Like, because it's so early in the year, there's a lot of asterisks attached to it. Like, our format's super weird. But then we have like the year where we can get MSI, EWC, Asia Games, and Worlds again to make up for first stand, right? Because the first stand blemish, it's never truly going to go away, and like everyone will always mention it till the end of time. Like, LEC got LCK there. Like, LCK got owned by LEC, even though LEC didn't ultimately lift the trophy. We got to beat LPL. We got to win it. I want to see the best representatives we can. I think that's important for Korea right now.
I liked your point about maybe being online is a little bit better. Smash's birthday is on the finals of EWC, so maybe some in-person gameplay would be good. Shiwoo's 18, man. Like, I think, yes, he's great as a rook, but I think you bring up some really good points there in terms of just comfort without the audience, their comfort of just playing League like you most of the time, whereas the vets now. And I think that's kind of what happened with Perfect. Perfect got thrown into the deep end, being like the guy at Road to MSI, going to those events, and then I think that prepared him for being able to isolate it and play his best during
World's
Worlds.
Finals, World's Finals is crazy. You're not going to get a bigger audience than that.
Yeah. All right, let's go into predictions for the week. It'll generally line up with what we talked about, unless Wolf pulls a fast one on us.
There are 2 typical matches to predict for me this week, right? It's Gen.G HLE, and believe it or not, I think Bro HLE. Now we'll get to that at the end, but starting with Gen.G HLE, for the reasons I mentioned earlier, and current like forum questions I have about Hanwha Life Esports, I have to go Gen.G here. I think they're the stronger team. I think they're going to get it done. I think HLE, but it's like close, right? I'm not saying like Gen.G's better now. It'll be a freebie, but I do think that the worry I have as a Gen.G predictor is if Kanavi just gets in Canyon's jungle and forces him to awkward fights and he doesn't respond well, because Canyon has had some very unusual games as of late. So not
Yeah.
sure. I'm not sure how that one's going to go, but I do think that Chovy versus Eka also hype. Zayas versus Keen. Like this is in my mind like one of the most exciting matches we have left. I mean, it probably just is, frankly, the most exciting match we have left. So I'm going Gen.G. I don't want to overhash like what I said earlier, but that's the main reason.
Yeah, for me, it's the opposite. I think it's Hanwha, right? Because of taking delight out, they're experimenting, and now it's like, okay, now that we've tried it, you've got a couple of series watching here, and they framed it positively, took it positively. Now it's time to put it to the test here against the best and see if this makes sense to us. Plus, it is a very exciting Zeka versus Chovy matchup. Like I cannot wait to watch that one and see how it goes. So yeah, give me Hanwha here, 55-45. It's close. The other close in terms of standings. Like I just don't know how these guys are tied in standings as BNK Furex and Kiwoom DRX. Like this is a super important matchup for these two squads if they want to try to make it to the road to MSI. Whoever wins this has the direct path. I feel like this is just such a B&K win, but Kiwoom has cobbled together some wins. They beat the bros. Like, they are there, right? I don't know. Give me B&K like 60-40, but I just feel like, is there something I'm missing in Kiwoom? Like, is Yukal, like, gonna just blast Vikla? Do we put Daystar in?
This is a Kiwoom thing. Like, we know on their best days, they can pop off. Like, on their best days, Yukal gets it done. Rich doesn't int. The easy feel out of the laning phase. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just when I say these words, I'm like, okay, there's an angle, maybe, but it's like, why would I predict this? It's like gambling, to be like, yeah, it's their due. Like it's they lost the last
that's what it feels like.
time Yukal's gonna pop off. Like I'm not predicting this. I'm not putting anything on this. Like. And then you like remember that Willer exists. You're like, oh yeah, they do have a jungler, but he doesn't do that much stuff.
No, he does stuff. He just can't do anything because Lazy Feels died again.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty easy B&K pred for me. Sorry, Kiwoom, not this time.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe it's more like 65-35. DNS versus Nongshim. This is the battle of the longest losing streaks in the league. Wolf, dude, is this where it happens?
Like I watched DNS play. DNS played against Gen.G yesterday, right?
Yeah.
And I was watching them play, and even though they had some angles, right, and it looked kind of okay, not even for like half of 1 second did I think that they were ever going to win that lead that they had. Like I was like, nope. And I could feel like Ox and Atlas also were just like, how do we frame it when they lose it? Like I could just feel it in the cast. As a commentator myself, when you know these types of things, it's always in the back of your mind where you're like, when a team that's not as good as the other team gets into a strong position and it seems like the other team kind of made a mistake, or like there's kind of an angle here, someone's overperforming, you're like, wait, don't necessarily overplay this yet, because that like League of Legends is not decided in the first 10 minutes. Like, you're like, okay, hold on. Yeah, it feels like that kind of moment. I also watched Nongshim draft well and take a game off Hanwha, so I just don't think there's any world where I can predict DNS to win this one. Like, I think this matchup will be closer than some of DNS's other matchups, but I don't think so.
The big thing that stood out for me was that DNS died to the same level 3 bottom lane gank, Pyoshik not covering play both games in a row. We had Pabu on the space. Oh, wow, that was such a blast from the past, by the way. Osh Pabu, the 1v1 demon. He's coaching now in EMEA.
OG.
Yeah. He was great. LEC should hire him. Like he understood it. Anyways, we covered it. We were like, okay, you can't cross on vision across mid lane, otherwise Canyon will punish you. And same play happens. He's at Canyon's Grump. His bot lane is getting dove again. And as easy as it is to blame Pyosik there, it could very easily be the team not talking and saying this is a possibility. And then I started looking at the player cams. Those dudes were not talking. And so as much as I think Nongshim could get in their way, DNS, if Peter and Duck Dom like get going, year of closer, blah, blah, blah. Like, I think it could happen. Like, they're just not talking. They're not talking to each other. It's
I mean, I think they're probably
sad to see.
depressed, you know? Like, I mean, I think there's probably, I'm not saying they have like clinical depression, but I mean, like the mindset of the team is, it's got to be in the gutter. You know, you get to a certain point, and this team has done it now. Like Pyosik has been here twice in a row. Like the number of losses, by the way, we could be heading to, like, they could be heading to, like, across both years, it's like 6 wins and like 70 losses or something crazy. Like I actually need to look up the exact stat, but it's rough. Imagine playing that many games and only winning like less than 10% of them. You're getting to a point where you're starting to think like, I mean, you might be, I think you probably should be thinking like, is it time to like hang up the mouse and like try to go to another region or get out of here, or like, I don't know, just retire and move on with your life and try to do something else, like try to do coaching, maybe, you know, some sort of transition is possible for a lot of these players, I think. Well, like that's like what's going through your mind sometimes when you're in this position, right? Is like, am I going to keep doing this? If they're not talking to each other, they're firing the head coach, like everything's in disarray. Like we didn't even get, by the way, we saw Goong. What I didn't feel like anything was different, you know, like what like
Wolf,
how do you
Wolf,
yes
Wolf, what place did DNS finish in LCK Cup this year? What place?
I want to say like 6th.
They finished 5th, bro.
5th.
They finished 5th. This was just earlier this year. They had some wins. It was like, okay, I've got the world championship attending bot lane. I've got a world championship jungler. We've got the year of closer. Things are looking up. Yes, we finished 1-4 in our group, but we won one. How many best of fives? They won one, or not best of fives. They beat KT. They beat Nongshim. They lost to B&K. They beat DRX, and they took a game off of DPlus. Like, you're like, okay, we can build upon this. We've had more wins in the cup than we had all year last year. And it's just... And they won early in round 1, which is why the losing streak is so long.
Well, I think that's the thing.
It's just
I
crazy.
You're building up the point further in that, like, that was before the depression sunk in. That was when there was still hope. That was when they believed. And there is, like, you can never tell me that there's not one single player on like the main roster. Okay, let's say there's not one single player, Duck Dom and Peter. Not one single player on this roster you can tell me doesn't deserve to play in the LCK. Like, Dudu deserves to play in the LCK. Pyosik deserves to play in the LCK. Closer deserves to play in the LCK, etc., etc. You know, like, for me, I'm like, is Life still LCK level? I'm not sure. Whatever. Quantum was debatably whether he was LCK level or not anyways for, like, multiple years. Well, the rest of these players in the main roster, I'm like, it's not you together. You might work somewhere else, but guess what? Because you're, you know, I don't know. Let me look up the numbers for this year for games. They are 2-30 currently in LCK. I'm gonna look up last year.
And the 2 came in week 1, game 1 against Kiwoom DRX.
And
it's brutal.
3-5. 4-26. They were okay. 17-56 total last year. So they ended up getting a lot of wins in the Rise group, a lot of like game wins, and ultimately were four series wins. So 5 series wins total. So actually, last year was not as bad as I thought. I kind of forgot, like, you know, they got a little easier in the Rise group. But like, if you're Dudu, who was once like a top 3 top laner in the LCK, if you're Pyosik, who's a world champion, you're like, I want to get out of here, but now I can't. Like, you know, I feel like that's how I would feel if I were in the position, like, who is going to hire me? How can I maintain my value? Even if it isn't individually like each player's fault. Like, sometimes it is, right? Sometimes it's Duck Dom's fault. A lot of the time it was this year. Sometimes Pyosik overextending. Sometimes Closer has a bad game on a champion that he's not as familiar with. Dudu's had some really rough landing phases despite his successes in the past this year. And you're like, is it X players' problem? Is that these 5 together don't work the same way they didn't work last year with a different roster, by the way? I mean, like, the same problem is that the 5-man unit doesn't work, and the talent was there last year. The talent is here this year. It's not working. And it's so depressing if you're a player, and it's so depressing for me thinking about players like Pyosik, thinking about players like dGon, who literally was, a few months ago, a fucking world's finalist. A world's finalist. Is like, maybe my career is dead now. Maybe I will never actually recover from this. I was benched. This a large part of this tournament. Like, what happens to your mindset when you're like, and by the way, we're only halfway through the season. Like, it could get worse, and my team doesn't trust me. I don't trust my team. We don't like each other right now, or maybe we like each other, but we're just kind of resigned to it's gonna suck for the rest of the year, and then we'll find out what happens next year. I don't know what that mindset is gonna be because I've never lived through that myself. But I can tell you that with a 6% win rate this year in LCK, maybe you don't talk, maybe you don't communicate, maybe you don't set up on Dragon correctly. I wish this team could get out, and I want them to, and they have so many fans right now. Like, they have so many fans. It's the Shanghai Dragons effect. Atlas mentioned it. You get to this point where you're so bad that everyone wants, like, some people want to watch the car crash. Some people are like, oh, I can't watch we need to watch them lose again. They always lose. Well, there's a lot of people, I think more people, who are like, I want to be there and say, I was supporting you since day one. I want to be there when you win. I want to be there when you break the streak. Like, there are so many people. You could feel it in the audience. It's crazy how many fans they have supporting them, trying to get them out. But it doesn't feel like that energy is like connecting to the players to get them out of the rut. All right, we went long on this, but yeah, I don't think they're gonna win the matchup.
Well, if you set me up, man, I was getting like teary-eyed thinking about how am I gonna react when they win? Because people are gonna be crying because this is such a long losing streak. And they're gonna lose though. Shit. That's funny as fuck.
I was there when Shanghai Dragons broke their streak, and people were crying, like losing their minds in the audience, like bawling.
I remember the sign from last year. I'm gonna hold my breath until you guys win. Right? Obviously, the guy wasn't doing that, but it just
hope not.
I hope not, because it's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks since your last win. I was thinking about this the other day again. Just I'm getting married, and so I'm being all sentimental and shit. And as I'm walking around LOL Park, I'm like, man, there are just so many fans here, even in these DNS versus Kiwoom DRX matches, where it's like, damn, these guys are in the shitter, and they've been in the shitter for a while. But there's still a ton of fans here. Like, how did they get picked? How did they become a fan of this team? Like, okay, DRX, that makes sense, but the DNS fans, I would love to do like a LCK like content piece on it, like a sit down interview piece. Anyways, yeah, DNS, they can't do it until probably the start of the next round. Maybe they'll beat Bro and piss me off. Telecom War, KT T1.
This is the third matchup that's vaguely interesting that I didn't mention. When I said Gen.G Hanwha, Bro Hanwha. This one I think is definitely a T1 win. Unfortunately for KT Rolster, I don't trust that Cuz is going to be able to get it done here. Doran did get solo killed by casting yesterday, but I don't think that like Perfect is going to win the top side well enough to make up for the fact that T1 indexes bottom side right now. Pays is just really good. And aiming, despite being sick, and right, we had that Fenrir game, which was weird, that we can just kind of write off. Aiming looked pretty good in his return game. Like, I think either a lot of people were speculating that he wasn't really sick and something else weird was going on, or he was having just really bad form issues. But I saw a lot of people speculating that because it was such a bizarre situation where the reason for him being sick was like quite unknown. And usually when you miss a match in an emergency, like a lot more details come out. So people speculate. There's been a lot of weird subs this year. So people speculate. People want to be, but no, he popped off. He did fine in the next match. Like he looked great. So I kind of feel like that's not an issue. I just don't think the team is, as a whole, as good on the map and as clutch as T1. Like T1 pulls these wins out of a hat like they did against Bro. You know, they will punish you if you make one mistake. KT make a lot of mistakes. So I'm going to have to go T1 here.
Yes, me too. But also, Faker also had a pretty not good series. Like he was making a lot of mistakes, and Romer wasn't in position to punish as much as we know that BDD can be, and is ruthless about it, and will rip that lead open. But yeah, I mean, I think KT's a great team. They can win if T1 give them the opportunity. But if I think that T1 are going to MSI, I gotta pick T1 here. DPlus and Kiwoom. This is interesting if Kiwoom beat BNK. This is the game that would get them into Road to MSI. But honestly, I don't know. Like, DPlus is such an enigma to me, man. Like, when we expect them to do something, they don't. They should win here. I'll pick DPlus. I'll pick DPlus.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the same boat in that, like, it's the same thing with BNK, Q, and DRX, where I'm like, oh yeah, Q could randomly win here, like, and have a pop-off performance, and UCal does a great ceremony. But I feel like, as an analyst of the LCK, and based on everything we've seen, to predict that feels like a little bit dishonest. It feels like you're trying to, like, you know, win the predictions game of the week and, like, be like, I think I'm gonna take a risk here and maybe it'll pay off. It's like, no, I'm not. I think the safe prediction is D+ for sure.
Gen.G versus Bro.
Sorry, dGon. This one's not broable. It's not.
This
it's
is
not
not
a
broable either. I agree. Let's just go Gen.G and let's just skip it. Everyone's gonna call me fake Bro fan, but it's like, no. I am analyst when it's time to make predictions. I am Bro fan. I'm also Bro fan, but also, like, there just isn't an angle here.
No, sorry.
KT and does not speak. Well, let's just breeze past that
Does
one.
not
KT.
speak.
BNK.
Does not shot call. No.
BNK versus T1.
I think that's a T1 angle.
That's a T1. Bro versus Hanwha. I think maybe if Hanwha decide to reward the academy team for playing well, or the challenger team for playing well in challengers against the bros, there's an angle. Otherwise, I think since being a Bro fan, I think there's only been one other week where I've gone 0-2 on the bros. I've always go 1-1 on the bros. But this week is so doomed, and I got so cooked last week. I think it's an 0-2 for the bros, and I'm going to back it up with my votes.
I'm not going to predict Bro here, but I think you could make an argument to predict Bro here because of how well Gideon seems to match up against Kanavi. Gideon is like one of the only junglers that feels like when Kanavi's like, I'm going to go for a dive, and then on the top side, then he realizes it's not possible. Then he's like, I'm going to go to the enemy Krugs, and then I might as well just go to the red buff because I think I know where the enemy jungler is, and I'm going to take this risk because my top side has prio. That's why I was coming to gank, and I'm not going to waste time. I'm going to go to the Krugs. You know, that type of play that we see him do all the time. And then Gideon is like the guy who's like, oh, you're not allowed to be here. I know where you are. I know who you are.
Yeah.
I'm going to get you. I also think that like the Romer versus Zeka matchup like could be a disaster for Romer, but sometimes when Romer loses lane in these when he's up against like really top mid laners, he kind of just becomes utility guy and does a good job. And obviously Teddy is great. Like I don't have any like ifs, ands, or buts about Teddy. Like Teddy could absolutely just like Teddy and Namgun could win the 2v2 lane against Guma Delight and just like win the game through it. If that goes well, like if Kanavi is a little bit too aggressive, Teddy can win the game. I'm off the Bro hype train, right? I'm not trying to say that I think Bro is better than Hanwha or that, and I'm not even predicting them, by the way. I'm predicting Hanwha here. I'm not trying to say that Bros could be back or whatever, but I feel like stylistically this matchup feels kind of okay for Bro with how they play right now.
So no, Wolf. It's because
I'm not
of Zeka and
it,
Romer. I know. I feel like you're trying to bait me into flipping my vote. And I can't because of Zeka Romer. Like every other thing lines up super well. Even holding Zeus there. I believe that. I fully agree with you with the jungle part. I agree with you on the bot lane part, but Zeka versus Roamer. Like Zeka is, you know, arguably our best mid laner in the league, and I just think Roamer would need to play Akali in a good matchup to steal a game. But otherwise, he just has these games where he's making the baby mistake. Like, I really like how you call it. It's like watching a baby, and you're like, what? I see, but
Don't
that's
put your
not
fingers in
right.
that
And
socket.
now,
Don't do it.
yeah. Zeka's the sharp edge of the table. Don't hit your head on it. Like, please. So yeah. And then finally, Nongshim versus DPlus, man. I don't know why, but this Nongshim win is growing on me because I am still a little down on Smash. I am higher up on Diablo. I think Kingen can punish Shiwu's weird fucking picks. I think that's a thing.
Now, Kingen also does play the weird stuff. Like he knows how to handle that.
But I think Lucid.
I think
Lucid pulls it out here on Sponge. Yeah, never mind. But I think there's.
I just am not ready to trust Scout and
Correct.
Kingen yet. Like I'm just not ready to trust them yet. I trust Diablo completely. I know Diablo, like for whatever reason, when he went to Nongshim and Nongshim has bigger problems than BNK, and then he was losing, everyone's like, I knew Diablo was bad always. I'm like, no,
attitude issues.
Like literally 5 minutes. Yeah, no, exactly. I'm like literally 5 minutes ago, those same people were like, "Oh man, trade of the century for Nongshim. BNK got robbed." And then like literally those same exact usernames are posting like, "Yeah, I guess Diablo was the problem. Diablo's he's a little attitude problem guy. I guess he caused all the issues. Like I knew this wasn't going to work out." I'm like, "No, you guys all thought this was going to work out." By the way, Diablo's still good. He's still good. His team is losing, but he's making incredible plays in their losses. Like he's actually looking out of control good. I think he looks better with Lehens, to be honest, even though Pleta may or may not have been his preference. Who knows? Never announced, but he's no longer the starter. And like maybe that's enough. Like because like you said, Smash is struggling a little bit. So I'm gonna predict D+, but I don't even feel that confident that will 100% happen, especially because Nongshim have been drafting a little bit better recently too. So I think those matches, the ones that we talked about here, like the Kiwum upset angles, like D+, we're not sure about their form right now. There's some fun stuff that could happen for sure. Like I do think there's potential for the week to be interesting. However, as Ox said when you asked what do, what don't, is this the best season of LCK? We've had a lot of 2-0s. We've had a lot of foregone conclusion games. We had a lot of games being like, this team will probably win, and the team shows up and they're like, I can't believe you even had a 2% doubt that we wouldn't win this game. It's 100% us. So maybe it will just continue to be another boring week of LCK, but I'm hopeful that won't be the case.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out, and we'll have it covered here on Let's Cover Korea. Thank you all so much for watching this one. We will have the final week of the regular season and start our predictions and kind of make fun of the teams that will be going on vacation early for next week. All right. Bye-bye.